Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from every part of the world you are watching us from. Welcome to a new episode of the Youth Circle here on New World News. Today we are asking an important question. Is the education system really preparing young people for the real world or real life? Many young people spend years in school studying hard, passing exams, earning certificates, but when they finally step into the real world, some still struggle with things like finding jobs, starting businesses, managing money, or even solving everyday problems. So it raises an important question. Are schools teaching us what we truly need to succeed in life, or are there important skills missing from the classroom? Our topic of the day is education preparing youth for the real life? I'm today with two strong gentlemen. I have with me today Jerry Atiogbe and Paul Pito. You're very welcome.
Thank you for the invitation.
Okay, Jerry is a journalist here on New York TV, and our dear Pito is an English language coach.
Thank you so much for
And
the
today, you know the topic already. We will not talk a lot. I don't know whether you have anything to say before we start.
Probably I will just do a little bit of context in terms of the topic. The thing is that when we talk about education, I think the mindset is usually focused on institutionalized education, which is in schools, perhaps. But I think we can go beyond, since we are talking about real life, and inculcate the aspect of education that is at home, that is at churches, in our communities and society. So we have a broader idea about the kind of education we are talking about.
Yeah, okay. Pito?
No, it's okay. I would like to say that I love the topic.
You love the topic,
it's a hot topic.
So we'll go straight to the first question to know, do you think school prepares young people for real life?
I would say yes, in the long term, because even different eras comes with different forms of education. So in this specific one, the one we have in schools, maybe what was important in the 80s or 90s may not be the same thing. So school is a whole system.
Yeah.
There is a focus in each era or in each period. So today I might feel like maybe school hasn't done much for me, but somebody years ago would feel different. Somebody in the future will equally feel different.
Yeah.
So for me to concretely say yes, it means that school has given us a foundation.
Yeah.
First of all, we go to school, we meet other people, we are taught different subjects. Sometimes we don't know whether what we have been taught is what will come out of. But in real life, education or schooling is part of the foundation.
Yeah.
So yes, school teaches us some part of things that we meet in real life.
In real life. Yes. Pito?
Well, I do agree to some extent. Maybe I would like to ask this question. When we talk about, when we consider the topic, are we talking about school or education in general, like wherever it is in the world? Or are we talking about our context because we are from Africa and we are from French-speaking country?
Yeah, sure.
And that is my concern. So maybe if you can elaborate on this, I'll be able to say something.
We are taking it in all, but we specialize in Africa because you're in Africa, especially in Togo. So,
That is interesting. Now, I will say, as I said, I do agree to some extent. So, as I said, to some extent, well, we are prepared, we get some basics, right? But if you ask me, I will definitely say there's still a lot to do in terms of education or in terms of preparing people for future life. There are still a lot to do, whether it's institutional education or home education.
Home education. So what's important skills like do we learn in school? Those skills that we learn in school. Can you just like...
You mean some skills?
of the skills we learn.
Well, I believe we learn some, skills we need to execute some activities. Maybe you might learn computer science. Okay, at school, they will teach you, for example, how to go about journalism. It's something you will practice in your future life if you have the opportunity to get a good training. But, for example, there is another skill that maybe you need to get you through the process that is not necessarily taught. And that is why I say we still have a lot.
Okay, then I'll ask you this question to know what important skill do you think schools should teach but they don't teach?
Well, it's a very interesting question. I think school normally should, first of all, focus on values.
Okay.
When I say values, when you finish your education, like when you finish, you graduate after university, then you come to real life.
Yeah.
And then you realize mathematics doesn't solve some problems, right? For example, you realize if you have a colleague, if you're working somewhere, you have a colleague that doesn't really like you, doesn't really, is always looking maybe to a way how to make you understand that he's more important than you are. That kind of skill, mathematics is not enough. Computer science is not enough. And you know, if you do not have that skill, even though you might be really skilled in your field, it might be very difficult for you to move forward in your career. You might end up maybe quitting, or you know, believing you're not able to do that. Do you understand my point? So I think for me, school should really, at the basic level, focus on values, human values. People need to know things that, well, for example, money is not more important than being, for example, honest. It is a value. Being truthful, it is a value. Yeah. Will you, if you are a CEO of a company, will you hire a very skillful person but that lies? That is a good question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
The underlying problem is, or issue is, that if that lie can save your company or increase your bottom line for you, some people
you don't care. You don't really care.
Well, actually, it's really dangerous. You know why? Because sooner or later, those values will catch you up.
Yeah.
So imagine you hire someone like that, and he's very skillful. He does everything you want. The business is booming, and one day you realize your company doesn't belong to you because he has other skills to snatch, you know, the company from your hands before you even realize. Do you understand now the extent to which I mean some values should be taught? I mean, at the basic level, they need to focus on them. And then added to skills, I think the person will know how to navigate through life in the future.
Yeah, I'll ask the same question to Jerry, but Jerry used to train people. You have a lot of people that you train, and you have a lot of things that you do in the domain. So what do you think school should teach students that they don't do, and when they come maybe for internship or training, you have like a lot of difficulties like training them in?
I would rather go on the other side to say it's not that they don't teach them per se. Probably they do. Maybe the how to apply it might be what I think will be the gap between the teaching and the learning. In the sense that I said earlier on that educational schooling is part of the foundation. So you are taught how to write, how to read, probably singing, how to do craft work and all that basically in school. Because even if at home your parents have the time or your siblings can teach you that, I think the foundation of it is from schools. Now, things such as financial literacy to me is one of the things I feel they don't do. Maybe in junior high school, there was this lady who used to sell toffee in school. And there was a teacher who was pissed off at it because in his mind, toffee is too sugary and then it will cause health problems. Maybe he's right. Maybe because they don't have maybe a doctor or nurse, somebody on the side in case there are complications, such a person could deal with the situation. But what we probably didn't focus on then or understand then was that that person was starting a business. It wasn't a school who taught her, but she was still doing it. So some of the things that can be taught in school is financial literacy. Your parents can't do everything for you till you grow. There are certain people who might have lost parents, they have to live somewhere, hustle in life. If they didn't start early, they may not have understood how to do it. Apart from that, I think one other thing is communication skills. There are still certain people in school, they are very shy. So when something happens, you see, instead of maybe handling or dealing with the situation, they might just withdraw. Some people just, the moment you do something, they go straight to the teacher and they report you. But maybe they could have engaged in a conversation to solve the issue amicably rather than going straight to report you to a higher authority. So I think financial literacy, and some even have to start a business. I think those are some of the things. Funny thing, mostly in schools is, where I schooled, is the ladies that do it. The guys, even if you do something, it's probably outside of school. Maybe you get some farm, you go and weed, you get some money, or you go and weed something somewhere. That is basically what it is. So financial literacy, I believe, should be one of the major things, communication skills, and also interpersonal, which what I wanted to tie into from his values. I remember back in kindergarten school, when you pick someone's dispenser without asking, the teacher can take it from you, put it back, and tell you, ask the person before you take it. Just that sometimes they don't make it directly known to us that is, okay, what I'm teaching you right now is called honesty, or you don't take some of these things without saying it. So they are taught, just that they are not taught with the idea of tagging it. Okay, this is integrity. This is maybe being truthful. This is being this, being that. So subconsciously, we are learning it or doing it without knowing how to identify them. So I believe things are taught in school. Is the application that I feel should be emphasized more.
Improved, So do schools teach enough about money and financial management? That's the question that will come later, but I think Jerry spoke about it already. But do you have anything to add to what Jerry said?
That's okay.
That's
think
okay.
He said it all.
Okay.
If you would allow me, I think we have different stages, in school, in education, from the primary, the secondary, tertiary, and all that. I think some of the things are not taught at the base. There was an argument somebody made that you don't wait until the person is grown before you start teaching him or her new things. If they start from the beginning, they develop means on how to grow with that understanding and that process to the extent that by the time they are at an adult level, they might already start impacting other people. But when you wait till they are grown, when they can make their own decisions, it becomes difficult to mold them into that kind of activity they are looking for.
So I think that training should start when you are still young, very young, very young. At like what age?
I think sometimes I think when we focus on age, we might be wrong because our level of understanding or maturity, or let me just say understanding, differs. Somebody, for example, who grew in the city, who had maybe, when I was in senior high school, I've never seen what they used to call hydrogen peroxide before. I had to go to maybe, I think, Form 2 or Form 2 before I saw it. Somebody who is studying the same subject or course as I am may not have been lucky to. So you see that because I have been exposed to that knowledge or that kind of thing, I may be able to identify it elsewhere when I go and maybe speak about what it can do, the do's and don'ts. But somebody may not have that same privilege. So I don't think it's a matter of age, but maybe the resources that are available to that person and maybe the intent that maybe whoever is teaching has for them. Am I just teaching them so that they know it is there, or am I teaching them so that when they get into real life, they can apply some of those things? He spoke about mathematics. On paper, it's good for some people, but in real life, they don't know how to do it. So 1 + 1 is 2, but you can put pebbles in front of the person will not be able to understand.
So a lot of people argue about entrepreneurship being taught in school, and there's a lot of arguments about it, and people say it shouldn't be taught in school, they should allow students to like go into what they really want to do. So I'll ask this question: should entrepreneurship be taught in school?
Initially, if you do remember, I said this topic is going to be a bit controversial. It is also true that sometimes when you bulge too much information to someone, at the end of the day, I ask myself sometimes the question, what am I using physics for? Because I did science when I was in school. But maybe I'm applying it without knowing. If there's a slippery floor, and I know when I walk on it in a way, I might fall. That is physics. But like I said, we don't tag things to what they actually are like. So entrepreneurship is important. Maybe we just have to define the kind that we want to do. Sometimes entrepreneurship, first of all, comes first of identifying a problem, finding a creative way to solve it, at the same time earning something. So maybe if we started at maybe junior high school, depending on the country where you are, it might be helpful, because I don't think primary school might be too much. The focus might be on literacy, writing, maybe some basic maths and stuff. But I think from junior high school should be included. It could be something the school as a group or a team, clubs or whatever can create, and then do it as collective or as an individual. And when somebody comes with an idea, why not? I don't want to say sponsor the person, like give the support the person may require, the person will do it. Tomorrow the person may not end up doing that business. But one day you go back or when the person meets the teacher, one day, this sir or madam was the one who helped me do this, who taught me that. Those are also things that we should look at. So entrepreneurship is important. It's just to define when to start it and which kind of entrepreneurship to do.
But you say a lot of people complete school and then they are now saying that they are entrepreneurs all over the world. And you see a lot of entrepreneurs today.
It has become a lot.
Yes, a lot. And do you think they need a certificate to prove that they're entrepreneurs, or?
Well, certain fields require those kind of certification. Because for me to apply here, maybe I went to media school or journalism school. Somebody may not necessarily go to that same school, but maybe as qualified as I am. So there is a system. Whether we like it or not, whether it favors us, is good or bad, sometimes there are certain bases that needs to be established. If I apply here, from a university degree or whatever, somebody applies here from a vocational or technical school, I think the measurement shouldn't be left to just the certificate, to what you can actually bring to the table, what contribution you can make. That can have a greater value than what you are presenting to me on paper. Because the paper is only showing that you have gone through that training, not that you have been able to implement that training. So maybe the paper can get you through the door, but what sustains you or keeps you going is what you can give to that company. That's basically what I can say.
Okay. Pito, you're an entrepreneur, so this question should like...
Thank you for the question. I love the question. I believe it should be taught, but as he said it, it depends on the way we really want to transmit that knowledge. And the way it is taught today, it shouldn't be just as a science, you know. And I believe those who have to teach this kind of subjects at university. And if you ask me, I don't think it's something maybe we should teach at the basic level. Okay. Maybe it has its own way to be taught at basic level. Yeah. But when we talk about like entrepreneurship, like the people who are already in business or people who are willing to venture in business, then we should have a way, you know, a very practical way as like English people do that, you know, because I know we French people, we love theories, right?
Yeah.
We love to write a lot, you know, and at the end of the day, we stop there, like on the paper.
On the paper, yeah.
And I believe it should be taught by people who have experience, so that when they come to class, they are companies, they are CEOs, they've got experience. They can tell you what is really happening, not things they've written down maybe 5 years, 10 years ago, and things, you know, the world is dynamic. Every day you have new things coming up and everything. So those people in the field, recently I've been watching a guy on TikTok. He goes about asking entrepreneur. Yeah. Maybe you.
I think I've watched it also.
I love those kind of content because those people they tell you what they live, you know. So I believe it should be taught, but by people who have experience, and they should be people that can really give you the realities of the entrepreneurship. And also, the reason why it should be taught, it allows you, the beginner, to avoid some unnecessarily mistakes. Because there are things just because you don't know. Nobody was there to guide you, to tell you, you don't need to go this way, you need to step here. And because nobody was there, you will waste time, energy, and resources. But if someone was there, he could have told you, well, you don't need this, you need to do this and that. So this is the way I understand entrepreneurship being taught, not just things you take your book, you know, copy, go pass the exam, and at the end of the day, you do something that has nothing to do with entrepreneurship. I mean, you wasted your time. You could have just, you know, foreseen that, and, you know, do something that is, okay, you know, when I finish this training, I'm in. So that is what I think about that.
That's good. Jerry has this argument about getting degrees, and a lot of people, like, as soon as they complete school and they have their degree, they think they had it all, and they can go everywhere and do everything they want. And you see them like doing that, showing off, as boosting themselves that they have their degrees and all that. So, do you think degrees are still important into this world?
Well, what you said earlier on, I want to rebut on that first. You know, sometimes it's not so much about the person feeling too big.
Yeah.
Okay.
When, especially at the university level, the stress that comes with university is something, if you haven't gone, you can't really understand or interpret it.
Yeah.
The stress, especially when it comes to project works and all that.
Yeah.
But that aside, degrees, PhDs, masters, they are all part of certification. So still, it gets you through the door for most cases. Because then there are certain specific fields like medicine and maybe some forms of literacy that you require a certain level for you to acquire a certain level of post. So if you are actually aiming at becoming this and that, and you understand the journey that takes you to that place, you would want to go over. Now, I also have a reservation in terms of acquiring maybe higher diplomas. It works for some people. Some people, too, it doesn't work for them. People have degrees in certain fields that they don't work in at all.
Yes.
That's true.
So degree, to me, is not so much of what the issue is, but if that is what you want to do, I mean, you can go ahead.
No issue.
But it doesn't make you, it's like having a degree or PhD doesn't automatically make you the best.
Yeah.
And don't forget, you're not the only one in the class. You're not the one with the A upper.
Yeah.
You're not the only one with the B lower.
B lower.
So you should understand that it's still a competitive world. And degrees alone doesn't secure you.
I totally agree with him on that, because you know, nowadays it has become like fashion. I have my
People
PhD.
even post their
Yes.
Online.
Yeah.
And with this AI thing that has come out, you see
Oh
some
my
people go
gosh.
through some
If you
small
go
one
on
or two
LinkedIn,
things, and
you
then
see people boasting
Yeah.
of that PhD. It's not wrong, but the problem is, does it help you reach your target? Have you just gotten that just because you want to feel like, okay, I hold a PhD?
yeah.
You see, one of the strongest country in the world, United States, people don't really waste time in college. Most of them,
Yes.
successful people, because time is money, right? Only some people, because of their personal project, maybe they want to discover something. They are working on a project. For example, they want to find maybe a cure for a disease, and then they have to study for many years, because this is a life project. I mean, they need that because they have a goal.
Sure.
But if you just have to go just for a PhD because, people will say now they can call me doctor. It's okay. But
It's a status that comes with respect.
Yeah,
as well.
sure.
yeah, but the problem is, does it solve a problem in our community? Those people I'm talking about in United States, they have been building companies to solve problems, and we are consuming. So if you have to spend, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, and that at the end of the day we can benefit from your PhD, I'm sorry, you could have done better doing something else that can benefit us, because you're part of our world, you're part of our community. We need to benefit from your PhD, right? So at the end of the day, if your PhD is just for fun, I think you wasted time. Yeah.
So I think we all agree that skills are more important than certificates.
They are. Now, let me say
I
this.
feel they are in a balance.
let me skills for me. He said it all. It gives you the opportunity to tell people, give me an opportunity, I can show you that I can do that. For example, if you're looking for a talented person, and they have to apply, and you said the person needs to have a bachelor's degree. If I do not have that, it might limit me, even though I have the qualification, the skills. Maybe I'm the best in that field. But because I don't have the certificate or the diploma to apply, you can't even have the opportunity to discover me, right? So for me, it is important, but it's just the reflection. I don't know if I can say that. It's just a way to say, hey, I can do this. Give me the opportunity. Let me show you that I can do this. Because when people only focus on the paper, that is the problem. I am against the fact that you are proud of the paper that they gave you, an institution gave you a paper, and you are so proud that even though you do not have the skills that the paper is saying that you've got, I mean, you shouldn't be okay with that. The paper says you can jump, and you can jump. So if they give you the job where you need to jump, what do? You see? So very important too. Not to say that, well, skills are not, that skills are more important than certificates. No, certificates show the way that the person might have the skill. That is it.
Okay. Jerry, anything to add on
Well, like I said earlier on, it's a bit in a balance, because you need one, you can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
You acquire skills when you were training to get that degree.
Exactly.
And it doesn't stop there. Whatever you've acquired, it is a use now that shows that, I just didn't go to school for this, but I went to school because this thing that I've got, I know how to use it for maybe an impact or in real life. And there's one other thing too. There are certain fields that require that you have a level of qualification or certificate. So for those ones, whether you agree or not, you ought to. He spoke earlier on about a project. Imagine you are finding a cure for a particular disease. It takes years. So those years that you're accumulating to get the cure, it involves going to schools, For medicine, I think they have a name for it. When they finish school, they have to do 2 or 3 years, 4 years for something and all that. Engineering is the same thing. If people hadn't gone to school to a certain level or had certain practical skills in terms of building a car, we wouldn't have known what seat belt means and the importance it has. It seems trivial to some people, but sometimes every little detail is important. That's why people keep upgrading and upgrading and upgrading. So yes, degrees or certifications are important, but it shouldn't be the limit to to what you can do. That is exactly what I want to say.
And I think it's the understanding that was not very well received by the community, because the one who was training people, he was trying to give them a skill. And at the end of the training, he has to give them something to show people that I was able to give him this kind of skill. So the paper tells the person you meet, okay, he came to me, I gave him the training, he was able to make it.
This is the proof that
This is the proof that he's not lying. So you can actually give him an opportunity and see that he has the skill. But what we understood is, okay, you don't even have to worry about the skill, whether you just manage to get the certificate and you are okay. And that is the problem. That is where the problem lies.
Okay. Then you think practicals are more needed in school than theories? So like...
I always say it goes both ways, because how do you practice something you don't know?
You don't know,
So the theory becomes the knowledge, and the practical becomes like the end result. You learned how to paint. Now when a room is nice, colored and all that, it means what you learned about probably how to mix a color, how to apply a particular paint on a particular material, whether it's wood or metal. That is it. So practicals, probably we need it more nowadays, because the theory is something that you can easily forget. But something that you have been doing like hands-on almost every time, you become used to it. And sometimes it becomes so intrinsic that sometimes just on a reflex, like in school, teachers will tell you, you need to learn your multiplication table. Even when you're sleeping, I call you beside you. At that moment, it will seem stressful, but maybe years on, when you are in a field where maybe that multiplication table is required, it will just come off. So yes, practical is important to me a bit more than theory, but like I said, one cannot do without the other. You need to start from somewhere before you do something. Everything that I spewed out of my mouth, you can't see, you can't hear it. You can hear, but you can't see it. That is just theory. If I'm able to stand up and show you what I'm saying, it means I've shown you something practical. I couldn't have done it without the theory. Because the theory is what gives you the understanding, the process to go through, and even how to do that particular thing. That is the practical aspect. Okay.
So we are about to wrap up. Anything to say before we conclude today's topic of the show?
Well, I would say that we need to talk more about these things to raise awareness, because if we need to develop our countries, and if we need to develop Africa, we really need to come out of that mentality of, okay, papers are good, and if you get papers and you don't have the competence. Because let me be honest, there are a lot of people holding diplomas with no skills, and that is not good at all. I'm so sorry to say this, but it is not good at all. If you hold a paper or you hold a diploma in something, you should. It is a must. Because at the end of the day, we need that skill, right? So if people go about just boasting about paper, certificate, diplomas without the competencies, we can never be able to develop our country. We'll be always calling upon those white people to come in, so.
Jerry, we are concluding.
So basically the topic is talking about if education is teaching us things that in real life. I'm going to say yes, because it lays a foundation upon which other things can be built. And degrees and certification shouldn't be the stopping point, or shouldn't be for intents that are not to serve the community or have an impact. Like he said, if you have a degree and there's still an issue in your community that what you studied from in that degree is not solving, then there's a problem there. We need to focus a bit more on, when you finish the schooling or when you have the degrees or even the skills, how does it impact on other people? That is basically what I want to say.
Okay, thank you very much, Pito. Thank you
You're
very much,
welcome.
Jerry. And a big shout out to my production team, to my producer, Jerry Etona Matiobe, to my director, Cristiano Barikwa, and to the people working behind the scene. I have Timothée today. Bienvenue was on the show today, Moise. Thank you very much, you guys, for the great job you are doing. And remember to keep following the Youth Cycle playlist on YouTube. Keep liking, commenting, and sharing. And it's broadcast on Friday at 11:15 a.m. in the morning, and in the evening at 6:15, and repeat on Sundays at 6:15 p.m. Thank you very much. Till I come your way next week, take time and take good care of yourself. Bye-bye.